hate it when people look at my notes because it's got all my notes like, don't say this stupid thing.
Oh, I'll take care of that.
Oh, that has like the family dinner on it. Okay, can I do this? Next slide, please.
Sure, if you want to. I'm just going to hit escape and start rummaging through your hard drive looking for the porn.
Yeah,
Who wants to go look for porn on X's hard drive right now?
Actually, here's the thing.
Only 2 hands went up.
We're afraid.
I have such a small. I have this. Okay, so I got this. OS 10 came out. You got to get the big hard drive.
About 10 seconds, and you're live.
Whoa, sweet. So anyway, there's the hard drive on this is so small, I can't put porn on it.
Is that what's so small?
Yeah.
It's the hard drive.
Yeah, it's the hard drive.
Sit down too.
You want to sit down too? Okay.
Got to answer questions.
It's my peoples. It's my team. Hey, actually, could you sit here too? And then we'll have like the whole posse up here, Christian.
Except William, where is he?
He's probably killing someone.
He's
He's a ninja.
He's with the Haji net people.
He is killing people. So we're going to get started here. So I'm Jesse Krems, aka Agent X. You might know me from such things as DEF CON and the Hacker Foundation and being just a loudmouth. This is Nick, Bruce, Christian. These people work with me on the board. Nick's co-founder. Bruce is just here because he wants to touch my butt. So I'm going to talk about what the foundation does, what the application process is, and problems that we're interested in tackling and thinking about. So what does the foundation do? It provides support, organizational services for technology projects that benefit people. And when we say benefit people, we're not meaning benefit just to you. It's important that we're thinking about some other things and some of those spin-offs being we benefit people that are outside our community. What happens, so we have 501c3 financial oversight status, or 501c3 oversight for our projects, exempt status. This is why I have Nick, because he knows these things. We do legal support for operations. We don't bail you out if you're in the EFF, or if you get busted and you need to be busted out by the EFF. We do operational legal support. We look over your contract, stuff like that. We do management support, so we're like, what's your goals, what you're going to do, what's your tasks? And we do marketing and sourcing, which means we price T-shirts, and we look at ways we can get your name out there. So some of the qualities that hackers have that we think are useful to other people, and usually it's in the projects you do. You're all pretty comfortable with technology. Surprise, surprise. How'd that happen? You're quick on the uptake. Something new comes out, you're getting into it, you're interested in it. Unlike some geeks who live at home, stay at home, and don't come out for cons, you're social geeks, so you actually have some awareness about the world around you and this idea of a hacker community. And you have a certain rogue element. Certain rules don't apply to you, and you don't care. This is really wonderful. We love this. And in general, it's a very creative bunch. Thank you. So the foundation is built around projects, and projects are pretty much the cornerstones and the building blocks of what everything we do is. Everything's a project to us. We always say, what's a project? What's a project? Projects focus on specific parts of larger issues. So a project isn't, I want to eradicate evil in the world. We thought about that, but it's a little big. So pick out a choice part of that and pick out evil, and then find your bit of evil, and then figure out what part of evil you want to take on. Projects have to meet the legal standards set forth by the IRS, and they have to be approved by the board of directors and, meet our approval. Projects operate the core values of the foundation. That means that they're sustainable. They're going to last longer than some of the projects we've seen or talked about. We want to see them lasting not a year, not 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and we want to see them grow, mature, and hopefully get their wings and leave us and maybe be their own nonprofit or business entity. We want equal access for all. We're not trying to discriminate against anyone, so if you're going to say, we're just going to serve these people, we're going to say, we like collaborative development. We want you to work with other people developing tools, projects, technology, and we also want you to work with people that are going to end up using your tools in the end. When I start talking about a specific project, we'll talk a little about this. We want stuff that's innovative. We're young, we're hip, we want to see new things. We don't want to see old stuff. Old stuff is boring and lame. And we want something that's altruistic, that serves other people. Serving yourself, we could do that, but it's really not very useful. And the side benefit of benefiting other people is that we look good to them. CCC looks good to the general public because they do things that the general public benefits from. We haven't been known for doing that. We've been known for taking down Citibank.
As a hypothetical example.
No. Remember how we got blamed for that Russian dude who took like a penny out of everything? Evil hacker.
Oh, yeah.
That's us. We're the evil.
You mean hackers, not the Hacker Foundation.
No, not the Hacker Foundation. Thank God. I didn't even catch that. Yeah, no, the Hacker
You
Foundation.
need to clarify.
Sorry.
As your
So-
lawyer, I recommend you be a little clearer, fuckwad.
Thank you. So this is a beginning of the project application flow. People have come to me and going, so this sounds really great. What am I going to do? I said, well, come to the talk at 5. But why don't you observe a problem and get fired up about it? And this is not a problem that is like a flash in the pan problem like, ooh, this is stupid, but I don't want to. But you don't think about it in 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years. If you think about it every day or comes back to you over and over and over again, then it's a problem. It's a real problem that you can actually work on. Look for problems that benefit a lot of people, not a small group of people. When I say a lot, I mean like thousands and thousands. Think about stuff that's fixable with tech or that enhances knowledge transfer. You're probably not going to have a lot of success doing technology work to mitigate the disaster or the problem that is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It's not really our forte. Grok the problem, really get in it, become the local expert, understand what's going on there. If you are not the smartest person in the room about that issue, then bone up. And when I mean local expert, I don't mean you have to come to international conferences and be the smartest guy, but be the smartest guy in your town, or at least get all the books you can lay hands on. Figure out what part of that problem you're going to work on and go for that one little bit. Don't go for the whole shebang. So this is a global landmine map. This is an example of a big global problem. There are landmines in most every country in the world that has had a major war in the last 75 years. So if you look at this, you'll see that there's a little country called Egypt right here. Egypt has the most mines of any nation in the world. And they were put there 50 years ago, not hitting on you, but by both the Axis and Allies during World War II, and the Egyptian government doesn't care because they're not in Cairo, they're not in the main part of the country, so they're floating around there in the desert. You're a tourist, you're a Bedouin, you're having a grand time out there in the desert, the sands, you're doing your whole Lawrence of Arabia, and you lose your leg. To put that in perspective, how many people are in this room? About, 50? Not that many?
40.
Okay, 2% of us are dead in the last day if we all died today, 2% of us, that person would be from landmine deaths. In North America, where you notice we don't have a lot of landmine problems, 1 in 22,000 are injured from landmines. So it's a big international problem. Landmines, victims of landmines, prosthetics. Landmines are pretty bad. So what the fuck are we going to do? We've got these landmines, they're in the ground, they're hard to find, they explode, deadly and dangerous. You got to find them, you got to track them, and you got to remove them. All these problems have some major technological bend to them. So you got to find them first off. Accidental human encounter is one of the #1 ways you find a mine. It's also the really shitty way. You're going to lose a limb, you're going to die. These funny little shoes here were developed by Frog Design out of California from people that disarm mines, so they don't, when they're walking into a minefield, you don't blow them up. That's technology in action there. This is the definition of a really bad job. It's going to be hot, really hot, because most mines are in the equatorial region. You're going to get down on your hands and knees. You're going to have a meter-wide swath, which is a little bigger than that. And you're going to probe every inch of the dirt looking for something that you're not supposed to poke, because it might blow up. These guys have a relatively low death rate, surprisingly. Construction workers kill themselves more often, but I was talking to somebody here, and they were telling me about somebody they knew who used to disarm mines in the Sinai Desert.
That was me.
That was you. Thank you.
Yeah, I worked
That
with
is
a
a
guy
good story.
who used to be in the Israeli army, and he was a weapons demolition guy, and told stories about how they would be out there in the desert in 120 degrees wearing their full demining outfits.
That is not a full demining outfit, by the way.
And just
That's the crappy
people
mine.
would get careless. They were removing anti-tank mines that weigh 70 pounds that typically you need, two people to try and even just carry one of them. Part of their technique was once they did find them, and I guess they had maps, but they weren't very accurate. There were certain ones that had been booby-trapped, so if you tried to remove them...
Actually, that's a built-in feature. That's standard.
Well, not all of them had them activated, and somebody got careless and just didn't want to take the time anymore. They were using these long poles to get underneath it to sort of pry it up and out of the ground, and sure enough, the poor guy just, turned into red mist and end of story.
Right. So mining's really dangerous work, and this is the way you usually find them. So the other very common way, and when I was doing research for this little presentation, I found many, many wonderful pictures of sheep, camels, horses, just blown up from mines. Big problem because A, now you have a dead goat in a field that was going to feed you this winter, and 2, you can't do anything. You know there's a minefield there, but what if the sheep are grazing there, or that's your that's this area's pasture land? Geological movement, shifty. There's a lot of mines buried in the desert. You can find them in a couple ways. One of them is by them coming out of the sand dune and rolling onto the road. And plants. This is actually something new that's going on. This is an example of something we'd love to be involved with, but it's actually being developed by a private organization, I believe from Sweden. It's Thalcrest, which is this plant here, which they genetically engineered to turn red in the presence of NO2. And then they were smart, and because unlike bringing kudzu to America and having it take over, they said, okay, we're also going to dwarf its ability to mutate and reproduce with other plants it finds. So you can just spread this stuff around, and what happens is you end up with these nice little red plants saying, don't fucking step on me. Then this is the mechanical detectors is pretty common. Metal detectors. A lot of landmines aren't metallic anymore. I was talking with a bomb expert from the FBI about mines, and I was like, well, we could develop a low-cost metal detector, right? And he's like, we don't make mines out of metal anymore. I go, they haven't made mines that are metallic or have large metallic components in the last 10 years. Or actually last 20 years. SPLICE is a project called Self-Powering Locator and Identifier of Concealed Equipment. It's a private proprietary piece of equipment, but essentially what it does is it uses radio equipment and radio waves, and when there's a receiver coil and an antenna coil, and when the panel sweeps over a foreign object in a medium, it'll change the tone, and you know something's there. It could be a big rock, or it could be a mine. Robots. There's a couple robots out there used for detection, but it's fairly rare. There's not a lot of reason to do it, and it's very expensive. And remote imaging. There's new techniques being developed to find mines using remote, like satellites. You just look at the soil and do spectrum analysis. So you found some mines, and you're like, yeah, there's a mine right there. Sweet. Don't step on that. So you got to look it up. I went to try to find some mines on Google Earth. There's no minefields on Google Earth. You look around. It's really hard to get good, up-to-date global data, GIS information about mine locations, or anything for that matter. This is somebody was speaking to me about asset tracking. Mines are an asset to somebody, so if you can find them, that would be great. These are just some of the small issues you're going to have to overcome just in doing a minefield search function. You need a clearly searchable geographic information system. It's got to have the right information in it. It's got to be localized so the people that are reading it can read it. And, they don't have fiber everywhere, so it's got to be really low bandwidth. And then you got to publish this information, build infrastructure to distribute that information. ICT, information communications technology, is not very well developed in a lot of places where there are a lot of mines. So publishing systems, infrastructure systems to move that around, and then you got to teach and train people to use it. All of these and most everything else I've talked about could be a project